Good evening and welcome all. It's the Rangers Rabble midweek podcast. It's me, Jamie Duff, and I don't know why this must happen quite a lot. It does happen quite a lot when you come on. It switches people. So I was looking for myself and I seen Brian and I get what right. I got there, man, thinking I look really bad for the last time I checked. So just welcome everybody. Good evening all. Yeah, I know me and Mark. I was on for a little bit. I swooped in last night to save the day, didn't I, Mark?
You did, though.
Saved the day.
Somebody had to.
And somebody had to. So yes, hello to everybody watching and welcome. And tonight I'm joined by my big pal Brian. Brian, how you doing?
Very well, Jamie, yourself?
I'm good. Nice to see you, mate.
Yeah, me as well.
Wilf, we were just chatting there, Wilf. Good to get you on a midweek pod. Don't get a chance to do them on a Tuesday at 7, do we?
No, not at all. So it's good. It's good that we're here on a Wednesday. So let's see what it brings.
Yes, good. And Mark, you were on last night, so we had a wee chat last night. So second time, mate. How did it go last night?
Yeah, it went all right. I mean, obviously, we're looking for better circumstances in the first one, but as it is, it's one of these things. A wee bit better the morning after the night before.
Yeah,
We're all good. We're better today.
I'm glad you think so.
Yeah, we'll touch on it. You know, well, I said to everybody listening, I said we'll probably do a wee 45 minutes. We've got a couple of things in the agenda to chat about. And Wolf's like, I'll give you 45 minutes on the Aberdeen game myself. So we better strap ourselves in. I know Wolf gave us a few emotional and impromptu chats before, so we'll go for it. What you say is just welcome to everybody. As you know, we're live on YouTube. Downloadable on all your, see wherever you can listen to a podcast on Acast, Spotify, you can download us all on there, and we'll kick off. And there only is one place to kick. There's been a couple of bits of news come out in the last few hours or so, but we'll come to that. Wolf, I'm going to come down. I'm not going to come to Wolf first. Brian, you live up that neck of the woods. You were lucky to beat the game last night. I know Wolf wasn't, so talk to us about your feelings. How are you feeling now, morning after you've went to the game? What was your thoughts on it? Brian, you're on mute.
I was quietly confident last night, even though we were a bit decimated with injuries and suspensions and African Cup of Nations stuff. I was still confident we'd get the job done. But early on, I mean, the first 15 minutes, we were never at the races. It was, you were just waiting for them to score. They hit the post. I think McGregor made a great save. I think then they had the penalty shout, of course, which wasn't given. And then we went straight up the park and scored. And then from that moment on for the rest of the first half, we were easy. It wasn't, getting inundated with shots and crosses, and we looked quite comfortable. And then the second half just passed everybody by, just pretty poor. And I mean, at the end, after Kent got sent off, you were just waiting for a second goal. There was corners getting flung in left, right, and centre, and you were just waiting for another goal. Thankfully, it didn't come, but it was a really disappointing performance.
I was going to come to you, Wolf, but I can't unmute you. There we go. Right, Wolf, I'll unmute you. Wolf, I think Brian's been very kind, saying we didn't play in the first 15 minutes. I thought it was closer to half an hour before we tried to do anything.
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, I don't think we played at all. I unfortunately had to miss the game last night due to other commitments. And Brian, you might want to go and get yourself a coffee. This might take a minute or two. Mark, if you've got a dog, take your dog out for a walk and come back, and I'll still be ranting on.
Always enjoy listening to you saying, well, so it's all right.
But no, I managed to avoid the score. I had a meeting last night that I had to. That's why I can't do Tuesday nights. And I managed to avoid the score, and I came back and watched it as live. It was actually still going on by the time I got home. Managed to avoid the score. Even when my daughter came in, and I was at half time in the game, she still didn't give the game away, which was good. But I mean, watching it as live, not knowing the score, I thought we never got going at all. I said before, if we play football and don't get dragged into a battle, don't get dragged into their game, we should beat them easy. And unfortunately, as usual, we get dragged into Aberdeen's game. It was stop-start, There was no fluency to the game at all. The referee didn't help because he was stopping the play at every single opportunity. It's really disappointing because when you want to watch a game of football, it could potentially be a great game of football. Unfortunately, it wasn't. I mean, we just never got started. We're lightweight, as Brian says. We're lightweight in midfield because our first choice midfield was missing. I mean, we really missed Scott Arfield last night. I think we missed Scott Arfield last night more than we missed Joe Aribo. Because Scott Arfield would have stood atop of that rat Brown, and we just have stopped him. You know what I mean? He just lost. I mean, he's got no ability left. He just tries to lord it over everybody, and he gets under our skin. But Arfield takes none of that nonsense. So I think we really missed Scott Arfield last night. But we just couldn't get going. I mean, it was an unfortunate game to put James Sands in for his debut. It was a toss up between Sands and Lundstrom. I thought he might have started Lundstrom, but I get the feeling that the manager really just doesn't fancy him for whatever reason. I mean, he brought him on later on, and what I thought I could see what he was trying to do, but it was a bit of a bizarre substitution when he brought him on.
Yeah.
Because you can't hold a 1-goal lead for half an hour at Pittodrie. It just isn't going to work. I just all in all, Jamie, it was just disappointing. Just very disappointing. We were lucky to get out of there with a point, but neither team deserved to win it. I mean, I can't recall McGregor making a save. Lewis had one save to make from Morelos' wonderful volley, second half. Apart from that, they were only ever going to score off a penalty because they offered nothing. I mean, Brown put 2 into orbit. I think one's just flown past my house just now. I think it's still circling Aberdeen.
One's landed in Norway just now.
Yeah. Aye, yeah. And it was just a bad day at the office, and we'll put it down to a bad day in the office as long as we don't get a repeat.
Yeah.
I mean, Friday will tell us nothing because it's a cup game against a lower league team. But next Wednesday, if we get a repeat of that performance, then we've got a problem. But I'm hopefully it's just a bad day at the office.
A bad day at the office. Just before we continue, just say hello to Dale from Los Angeles. I mean, we were all feeling a bit miserable already, Dale, so thanks for that. No joke. No, all joking, mate. Nice to have you on, and people from all over the world joining us, so thank you. Just thanks to all our usual listeners and stuff like that, everybody joining in. 7 o'clock, and it's a Wednesday this week, so thanks for giving up your time and joining in. Mark, I know you went over it a little bit. The dust has settled on it a little bit. How are you feeling this morning about it today?
I think probably last night it was a bit raw. Be bit of time to reflect on it. I think probably to kind of echo you guys, it's a bad day at the office. I think I mentioned last night, it looked as if they hadn't played a game in 2 weeks. A bit rusty. Second string. I think we just put it to bed, move on, and hopefully do a bit better. Yeah.
Brian, see the performance. Are we putting this down to? And I'm not one for this. We've got a lot of players missing, right? But I'm not really. I'm not keen on that. See, before the game last night, I'd text a couple of my mates, my brother, saying, "Look at our bench. Our bench looked strong. Once you draw 1-1 with Aberdeen, everybody's saying, I mean, we didn't really have anything to come off the bench. Are we taking it down to a few players being missing, or was it more of an abject performance from the ones that perhaps were selected?"
I think there's an element of both in that. You can't take out Aribo, Davis and Arfield and expect a similar performance. The guys that obviously replaced them are replacements for a reason, because the guys that are missing are first choice. I must admit, I'll agree with what Will said. If Arfield was on the pitch, that boy Brown would not have got as much room and time in the ball as he did. I still feel when we play against teams like Aberdeen and that, we know what they're about. We know they're going to annoy us. We know they're going to just, niggle us and just try to get rises out of us. And at times, like last night, we were naive a lot of the time. Needless bookings, silly fouls, and allowing Brown just to get under their skin. But he's done that his whole career. And for some reason, we're naive enough to fall in that trap every time. Really annoys me that. I mean, we should know how to play against Brown by now.
Yeah, but Mark, I think we do know that Brown's going to be like that. But me as a fan, I'm still enjoying when I don't. I know we probably, and it's probably bit us in the arse last night, but I enjoy when I see players like Bassey standing up to him, giving him a wee bit when he tried to put his arm around Tav. I want to see my players do that. Probably not want to do stuff that gives a referee an opportunity. Not going to talk about the referee. We've done enough of that last night. The referee wasn't the problem last night for us, but What's your feeling about how we approach players who aren't doing that with us? Because Morelos likes to get involved quite a fair bit, but do you think we should just go on with the job at hand?
I grew up with the likes of Souness and Ian Ferguson, and I like to see dig. I mean, it's me personally. If you're giving me 100%, I don't mind you're not the greatest player or the most gifted player in the world. I just want you to see you 100%, get your sleeves up, and get in about it. And I think when you go to Aberdeen, places like these, you need to win a battle first. And sometimes tippy-tappy nice football, you're not going to get away with that. I said you need at least one, maybe two in your midfield that are capable. I think Arfield, you're talking about Arfield there, Arfield can do both sides of that game. He's got a wee bit of dig, got a wee bit of spite, but also it can bring that wee bit of creativity. But you need to have dig. As far as I'm concerned, if you're playing midfield for Rangers, you need to have a bit of grit about you.
I mean, Mark, you mentioned there about Souness. One of his famous quotes was, "You can either have a game of football, boys, or you can have a battle. We'll do either." But at this point just now, I don't see us having a battle. We just don't have that instinct in us just now.
But Brian, the problem with that is, right, and I know we don't want to dwell on referees, but we get pulled up for challenges that players at other teams get away with. You know, we're refereed to a different standard, and
yeah,
I mean that was last night proved that. You know, I mean some of the bookings we got last night were fucking ludicrous. I mean the first booking of the game, right, the booking for Hadji. By the letter of the law, that's a booking, and I've got no issue with him getting booked for that, right? But nobody else gets booked for doing that, right? So it's not consistent. 2 or 3 weeks ago, or 2 or 3 games ago, because we've been off for ages, McGregor gets booked for time wasting. I think it might have been against Motherwell. He gets booked for time wasting, and he was time wasting. But other keepers do it, get 1, 6, 7 and 8 times and don't get yellow cards.
Yep.
If they're getting booked, fine, book McGregor. We're getting refereed to a completely different standard. So I agree, we need to go to places like Aberdeen and have a bit of dig. But we can't dig as hard as them because we'll get pulled up for it, you know, and get bookings where they don't get bookings, they get away with it.
Well, if I want to come straight back to you, because I was watching last night, right, and Stephen McDonald's, how you doing, mate? Stephen must have commented in the pod this about 5 times last night, even when I jumped on the last few minutes. We did have 3 weeks off. Why did we have such a slow start? Or I mean, it was quite lazy, looking quite laboured after. I'm expecting the players, I'm assuming this is what Stephen's alluding to be coming out the traps after having 3 weeks off. Your first game back, get up to Pittodrie. We should have been coming out fast and furious.
Yeah, I was hoping for that as well, but I mean, in the recent past, that's just not happened. I mean, I put that down to the way the former management team approached it, because I mean, if you look, the last 2 or 3 winter breaks we've come out and we've been really, really slow. We've really struggled in the games. But I thought they had an entire week off over New Year, then they came back in for 2 weeks training. They can't use the no Joe Aribo as an excuse, because they've known the whole time they've been getting prepared for this game that he's not there. It's not like Aribo suddenly fell out the team on Sunday or Monday. They knew fine he wasn't playing. So they must have had a game plan in place. I've got no explanation for why they started so slowly. You know, I mean, like you say, Aberdeen, if they can't get up for a game like that, they shouldn't be at Rangers. I mean, and I'm not saying I don't want any of them being at Rangers, but you know what I mean. They should be right up for that after all that time off. But I mean, if you look back to the last few years with the current squad that we've got, they've played their better football when they're playing games every 3 or 4 days. You know, we come out of international breaks, we struggle. We come out of the winter break, we struggle. It seems to be a mindset with the players, and I've got no idea why. And hopefully, as I say, last night was a blip, and then we're back to playing games every sort of 20 minutes now. So hopefully they'll get back onto winning ways and just, you know, start playing well again.
We had a fabulous season last year. We won the league at a canter. It was actually very easy. We started this season well as well. I mean, but I know we're points behind. We're always going to be points behind where we were last year. So I know CGM's in the comments and watching. CGM, put your seatbelt on, strap yourself in, because I'm going to actually broadcast my comment I put on last night. Gio's had a cracking start. Brian, have we seen this coming? Before you answer, right? Dundee United kids, we got the victory. We seem to be scraping the victory. Hibs scraped the victory. almost did we just, if that game was a draw, you wouldn't even have batted an eyelid at it. Hearts game, I know we won 2-0. They got a man sent off. Seeing most of these games, the opposition are having more possession, stuff like that than us. Is that Gio's plan, or is it when a team like that come and battle at Aberdeen and they nick? We can't always win games 1-0, 2-0. We need to open up a little bit. Do you think this was always coming, this wee kind of blip? Of course it was, but have the last games leading up to this maybe shown that a little bit?
Possibly. I mean, it's not as though we've had an easy run since Gio's come in the league. We've had, Hearts away, Hibs away, tough away fixtures, and Aberdeen away, And if the fixtures went the way they should have, we would have had Aberdeen and then Celtic away consecutively. So, that's not an easy run. So I suppose he was maybe try to be pragmatic in his approach. But I do agree in the sense that we've scraped games recently. We've not won any canter, really. But is it his tactics? Could be. It's very evident, though, that the out with the 11 were not as sound as what we would like it to be.
Well, Brian, let me put this up. It's something I want to come to the transfer window later, but Big Shug has kind of jumped on this. Mm-hmm. Shug, I'm going to come back to that point because somebody put a really good tweet out probably about a couple of hours ago, and it showed you our last 6 or 7 signings. I don't know if anybody's seen it. The 6 or 7 signings.
I did, but I can't remember who it was.
Yeah, the 6 or 7 signings were last 6 or 7 signings. If you get through the names, none of them are players that are going to take us to the next level. So we'll come back to the transfer window. Folks listening and watching, of course, please hit the subscribe button if you already haven't. And like the video, please. There's a wee comment section in the video as well. See if you watch the videos and you go away and come back. It's like a day later or something. Look at the comment section. You see some good comments in there. It's fun. Some of the comments you get to interact in the actual comment section is just not the live chat. So go in and have a look at that once you're done. Of course, Patreon's there as well, so we can subscribe. It's like a donation, folks. There's a couple of tiers to the Patreon. Get some different bits of content. I know there's a lot of stuff out there going on. So we're also doing the Rabble content on YouTube as well. So there'll be more tiers to that as well. So we're just trying to grow and get as big as we can, but we just need people out there to help us get to that level. It's very, very hard, and we've had some day-to-day arranging this. I think we're down to like 2 subs. We're down to our 2 subs. I'm not going to say who the subs were here, but in fact there was 3 subs and I was one of them. So it's hard pulling all this together. There's a lot of work goes in. Martin does a lot of work as well. So we just ask anybody who enjoys the content to support us as you can, and we thank for everybody for doing that. I'm going to move on. And folks in the comments, I know I'm probably going back a bit. There was so many comments about different players. Filing back up, I want to chat about a few players. Wilf, you touched on James Sands. We were all very excited after our interview with Mr. Bogart, the journalist, and I was excited. I was kind of really happy to see him in. It was Gio's first signing. I think, Mark, you said this last night. He got into the team. Perhaps was a bit of a baptism of fire. I think it's very harsh, kind of the stuff I've seen in this chat last night and on Twitter today. We can't be judging a boy after one game. That's ridiculous.
No, you can't judge. I mean, the boy was thrown in. I think ideally James Sands wouldn't have been anywhere near the starting lineup last night, but we were really thin in midfield. As I said earlier, it was a choice between him and Lundstrom, and he went with him, and that's fine. And the first 15-20 minutes, the game seemed to pass the lad by, and then he got into it a bit and he had some nice touches and some decent passes, and then when we started making substitutions, I mean, when he took right off and put Lundstrom on, Sanchez drifted totally out of the game because he moved position about the midfield, and you can't judge the boy from that one performance. I was expecting his debut to be on Friday against Stirling Albion. Yeah. But he's put in through circumstances. We got away with it. I saw enough last night. The boys obviously knows his way around a football pitch. I think what's going to work against him is he's versatile. He's one of these players. He doesn't have a natural position, so it might get him more game time, but it'll get him more criticism because people will say, well, he's not really a right back, or he's not really a centre back, or he's not really a midfield player, or wherever he's playing, that's not really his position, because we don't know what his position really is. I mean, I've got a pal out in New York that used to watch him for New York City, And he said that. He said, look, he says he's good at every position he plays, but he's not outstanding in any of them. He doesn't really have. He's not like Goldson's a centre half and nothing else.
Yeah.
Jack of all trades, master of none.
Yeah. He's versatile. I mean, my whole thing with versatile used to be a shite in every position, but this guy, this guy seems to be decent in the positions that he plays, but not outstanding in any of them. Whether in the long term that's good enough for us or not, time will tell. But you can't judge any player on 90 minutes in a new team. You just simply can't do that.
He played in beside Kamara last night, and we know that, for me, Kamara's one of our better players. But Brian, are you a wee bit worried about Glenn's form just now?
Not well. Up to last night, I really wasn't, because he was bossing that midfield himself. It was almost like he was given free rein once Gio came in, because he had the sort of holding midfield situation down to his own self, and I thought he was doing really well on his own, because he had Aribo and probably Arfield pushing on a bit further forward. So he didn't have that congestion like he had when Lundstrom was in there and getting in his way. He could do all the turns and the moves, and I thought he was doing really well when the new formation came in.
Mark, this is something I've seen a lot on social media, and this is something we've chatted about quite a lot. And CGM saying there, and the information we got from the MLS journal was that probably if Rangers don't play 3 at the back, then as a deep line DM's number 6 is San's best position. He's not going to get a game there with Kamara, in my opinion. The big thing being, should Rangers be playing with 2 DMs against anyone than Celtic in the SPL? Now, CGM thinks away to Aberdeen we probably should be playing with the 2, like we perhaps done late yesterday, but I'm not too sure about that. I think that should be kept for Celtic. We should be overrunning Aberdeen going forward and shouldn't need 2 DMs. What do you think?
I think so as well. I think that they played the 2. I don't think it worked. I think the boy Sands was always. I think I said it yesterday as well. I think the boy was always going to get a start, but I don't think that he's going to get. Kamara's going to be that number 6. He's always going to be that number 6. As long as he's here, he's going to be the first name in the team sheet. The boy Sands, I thought he'd done all right. As I said, to kind of echo what Wolf said there. The first 15-20 minutes, I think, passed him by. I think he was just kind of a wee bit shell-shocked at what he was involved in. Speed of the game and such, but I thought he'd come on a few nice touches and stuff like that, but I can't see him getting shifting Kamara, but maybe he's brought him in as a long-term replacement for Kamara. I think that's maybe what the thinking is behind it, but I don't think Aberdeen. I think we only need one holding midfielder. I think that you take the game to Aberdeen, let them worry about us rather than us worry about them. I don't think you need 2 to answer the question. I don't think you need 2 holding midfielders in there.
Yeah. It was a bit of a baptism of fire for James. Are we thinking here that we were chatting, there's a bit of naivety perhaps in Gio's part, throwing him in, thinking my side that boy will be fine? Listen, I think he was a 5 or a 6, if that, out of 10. Nothing he didn't do. I don't think he done anything glaringly wrong, but didn't do anything to get more than 5 out of 10, 6 out of 10 at a push. Do you think Gio maybe made a mistake by not allowing him to get up to speed, or did Gio underestimate Aberdeen's pace and coming out of traps?
I think Gio was overly cautious. I think that the games that he's played one, we've looked far better. Going forward, we've looked dangerous. But 2, I think you leave that for your Celtics and your Leons and teams like that. I mean, Europe, 100% play 2. But other than Celtic, I wouldn't play 2 old midfielders. We don't need to play 2 old midfielders at all.
Well, the other bit of news that's just dropped before we came on there, and I don't know if it's, I've not even a chance to check it, but yeah, someone's just Ali's just commented. This Morelos seems to have been called up to the Colombia squad. We know he'd been out of the squad, Wilf, but he's been on form. He's going to get called back up, isn't he? And that's a massive blow if he doesn't make the Old Firm, regardless of how yesterday's game went for us.
Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised he got called up, because I believe that when they played in, it was at the Gold Cup or whatever it was they played in recently, they had about 9 strikers listed and he wasn't one of them. So I couldn't see any way that they'd be they'll be bringing him in when they've got that many strikers just for an international, kind of two or three international games. But I mean, what would he be, fourth or fifth in line for them? He'll probably not kick a ball, which is a bit galling when we're going to miss him. But I mean, it's unfortunate, but these things happen when you sign players of international quality. You're going to lose them sometimes. As we said off air, that other lot signed 3 Japs and they're going mental that they might all get called up. Well, that's what happens when you sign international players. They get called up for internationals. That's the whole point of the thing. And when you bring them in from places out with Europe, the international window's different. The international calendar's at different times. So we just need to get on with it. I mean, there is a chance that Roof could get called up from Jamaica. That would really drop us in it. It just means we've got big Sergio Kitten. I mean, that's obviously the reason we brought Hinton back. Because if Roof wasn't fit or got called up with Jamaica and Morelos is away with Colombia, that would leave us nobody if we hadn't brought back Hinton. So, but I mean, what we've got, if he's out, if Morelos isn't there, and we've got to play with Hinton, that's fine. Let's just bring it on. Yeah. Just get the game played, bring it on, get the 3 points back to Ibrox, and push on to win the title.
He's it. Well said, Wilf. He's the Brian. It does look like probably the reason why Itten has been brought back.
Yeah.
Is because of this. Rangers perhaps might have known this was coming. There might have been tentative talks or something. Morelos might have knew it was happening through an agent or through even the manager to say it's happening. That's maybe why Itten's been brought back. But I've been quite, I've been quite critical at him. But do you think he could make an impact now that he's been brought back and if Morelos is away in international duty?
Well, the way Gio plays, he's got the 2 wingers, flying, and you would think with a big guy in the middle, he's able to do the, the heading ability and stuff like that, hold it up a bit more. But as somebody said in the comments here, I think Morelos will get called up, and I bet he doesn't even play a minute, guaranteed.
Is there any, I don't know if anyone knows that. Surely, can Morelos not make some sort of plea or say, look, can I miss this? Surely there's an agreement that can be made in certain games, but we move on. Mark, I seen the only other person I was wanting to chat about, and someone has mentioned it here. Oh, wrong point. Curry Muncher put it on there. Kind of forgotten about Sakala a little bit, and he scored a few goals. Whether he's a central striker or not, we don't know that yet. But could he have an impact if Morelos is out?
Personally, I would play him. I'd play him through the middle. I think that his pace will terrify centre halves. I mean, he's maybe a bit rougher in the edges, but I think he'll terrorise people. I think he'll not give centre halves a minute's peace. So I don't know. I would definitely, if Roof's not fit, then Sakala would be my next in line. As I said, I would have no qualms with him leading the line himself. I think he's alright. I mean, he's shown that he's half decent in the air as well for the size of him. So I just think that even playing Celtic with, there might be a bit more room behind the back four. So
yeah,
I give him a go. Why not?
Folks, we are well into the transfer window now. I've seen a few chats on Twitter today about people being a bit concerned now. The Patterson deal was done, the Gerrard deal was done. It's a fair bit of cash in the coffers there, and we've brought Sands in on loan. Well, for you, thinking that, or hoping that John Souttar deal's done. One, are you thinking we'll make the John Souttar deal permanent in this month? And 2, do you want us to get players elsewhere as well?
On the first point, JD, I think we will get Souttar, but I don't think we'll get him until the end of the window, because I can't see Hearts saying, okay, we'll let him go for nothing, rather than take, what would we give them, 100 grand, 150 grand? I reckon that's the top back we'd go. So that's a lot of money to them, I would imagine. So they want that rather than losing for nothing, because they've got cover at the back. I mean, I know Souttar played last night, and by all accounts he got a bit of stick, but the stick soon sort of died down. My missus is a Jambo, and she was telling me he got a bit of stick last night, but the stick did die down a bit. Yeah. I think we'll make it permanent. Hopefully next Thursday or Friday after he scored the winner against them next Wednesday. That would be quite nice.
Yeah, I've seen a few say that. Play the Celtic game, then they might make it permanent.
But I don't know. I hope we make it permanently, but I wouldn't pay more than about 150 grand for him. If they want more than that, just leave him where he is.
We've got covered in eight positions.
Yeah, we've got plenty. My concern just now is something happens to Barisic, and Bassey has to go back to left back, and that leaves us late at centre back until Hellander's fit. Hopefully Hellander plays a bit on Friday and gets a bit of game time in him, because he'll need to get eased back in gently. I think you can't just throw him straight back into 90 minutes. I don't think. And to your second point, we'll sign somebody. We really need somebody wide right. Desperate, we need somebody wide on the right. We've got loads of guys who can play on the left, but we need somebody wide. And who is, I don't know. I'd like to think Ross Wilson's on the case and he's got somebody lined up. But I think the last player that we actually paid money for that's made a difference to the team was Joe Aribo. Yeah. We got him for a nominal 300 grand from Charlton. And that was only because of the cross-border loophole thing. He really should have gone for several million, as his manager at the time was very quick to point out. But then that's how long's Joe been here? 2-3 years now. That's a long time since we've actually spent money on somebody that's improved the first team. And every transfer can't work. Brought in guys like Simpson, didn't work. Bacuna, it looks like the manager doesn't fancy him, and that's fine. That happens. That happens. He didn't get a lot of game time under Gerrard, who brought him in, and Van Bronckhorst hasn't been playing him, so you've got to think he doesn't really fancy him. So, not every transfer is going to work, but nothing to say if we bring somebody in for money that is going to work. But if we are going to sign somebody, it has to be somebody that goes straight into the first team.
Yeah. Brian, is it getting to a stage where we need to, some of our buys do need to come in and make a big impact now? We'll talk about Roof. Roof, all in all, has made an impact last season and stuff. Itten hasn't. He cost us a fair bit of money, and then you go down the list of the last 7, and I think it was like Simpson, Bacuna, Lundstrom, Sakala. The list's grown here, and none of these players are in. I know San's name was added to the list. You need to exclude him, but none of these players are really impact. Scott Wright, you add to the list as well. None of these players have come in and made our first 11 better. We're probably still playing with a first 11 from way back. So is that a bit worrying about the players that, one, are they Gerrard signings, or two, are these signings that the Ross Wilson, the scouting team, are putting on top of the table here? Because a guy like Bacuna has not played under either manager.
No. You've got to throw in the boy, is it
Orbor? Yeah.
The boy from Bournemouth. Never even kicked the ball. So it's about time that if there's a time to produce the cash and sign somebody who's going to make an impact in the first team, it's now. This before the 31st of January, because it really needs an injection of a bit of class in this team.
Where does it need an injection of class, Brian?
Eh?
Whereabouts?
Well, the rumours. Well, it's all rumours and ifs and buts. But I dare say Wilson, he's obviously worked hard at it in the past and in the present. So you kind of have to judge.
But do you? Sorry, Brian. Do you agree that it's the right? I think everybody in the comments as well agrees that it's the right hand side we need to look at first and foremost.
100%.
Is there anywhere else? Are we short anywhere else?
I would say attacking midfielder.
I would say a number 10, something like that. Somebody with a bit of creativity, a bit of skill. And as Wolf said, the left back's always been a situation I've never been comfortable with, because I've never trusted Bassey at left back. He's good as but last night Bassey was awful. He was absolutely terrible. But he wasn't alone. The whole team were. But I've never been comfortable with Bassey at left back. As I say, Barisic. I've always been a big fan of Barisic.
See that can I just comment on that? It's a Goldson, I thought, was probably our best player last night, and it's you're talking a 6 out of 10 here.
Well, I didn't even give a comment on the man of the match last night. I couldn't.
Neither did I.
Couldn't even pick anybody.
CGM makes a good point in the comments. Offerbor's a boy that came in on a pre-contract. Once he'd signed and got in the building, we found a problem with his heart. Now, God bless, there's been a lot of stuff like that kicking about. You've seen the Ericsson stuff during the Euros, was it? During the Euros?
Yeah.
We've seen Fabrice Mwamba have problems. Goldson's had problems came through it. A good point CGM's making there is, why was that never found doing the medical. I'd have thought they'd done a full body medical.
It's a strange one, isn't it? It's a very, very strange one. I don't know. As I said, fair play to the young boy. I mean, he's still trying. He's still trying to get back and still trying to resurrect his career. But it's one of the ones. And the thing is, as well, that nobody's ever actually come out and told us exactly what the problem is. It's all been kind of swept round about, and nobody's ever said this is what the problem is, and this is what showed up, and this is what we're going to try and do to rectify it or to get the boy back fit. It's always just been, the doctors, he's working with the doctors, seeing specialists. Yeah. So, I mean, obviously we got the boy on a free anyway, but we're still obviously paying his wages. Yeah. And I dare say he's in no bad poppy. So, I don't know what you do with that one. I mean, you don't want to go like that to the young boy, right? Well, we're releasing you because you can't play for us, and then cast him adrift. So fair play to Rangers, they're kind of sticking by the boy, and they're obviously trying to help him. But as I said, you're not getting any information. Nobody's telling you this is what the heart defect is. This is what we found in the scan. Nothing like that. He's almost like a forgotten man.
Yeah.
It's a strange one for me because we signed him on a pre-contract this time last year, and then he got loaned out to, I think it was Wickham, and he played for Wickham the last 4 months of last season, and he seemed to be playing every week or almost every game for them, and then he comes to us and they go through the pre-season checks and they find whatever this heart problem is. Now I'm quite comfortable with the fact that we don't know exactly what it is because it's the guy's own personal medical history and all that. We don't need to go into too much detail. I mean, we don't know what Goldson's problem was. We just know he had a heart defect. But they should give us a bit more information on how the boy's coming on. I mean, is he better than he was in the summer? Is he improving? Is he any closer to training? You know, and it was unfortunate. But like you say, JD, why was it not picked up at the initial medical? And what changed between him finishing with Wickham and coming to us? Because that was only a matter of the pre-season 2 or 3 weeks off. He was playing for Wickham, so they must have medically tested him on a regular basis, you would think, particularly these days with the COVID and stuff. Then all of a sudden he comes to us, goes through pre-season checks, and he's got a heart condition. You know, it's a very, very strange one.
It's kind of the way we've went in recent years, Wilf, with we don't release a lot of information. We're always scratching about trying to find out. It doesn't help us doing this. Trying to find how long is Jack out for? What's wrong with him this time? Is what's happened to Ruth? And it's just some of the way we've been going. Brian, I wanted to touch on we're getting players back as well. I mean, if you look at what was the injury list: Balogun, Hollander, Davis, Arfield, Jack, Ruth. There's about 7 or 8 people.
Colossal list, isn't it?
A massive, and actually not including some of the ones that don't even feature. But these are arguably first team players for us. If we get a lot of these guys back, it's going to stand us in good stead. And is Gio maybe looking at that and thinking, I get you likes of your Jacks and all these and Davis back and Hollander. These are like new signings. We've not had Hollander at all. What a boost it's going to be to get him back.
Mm-hmm. I would argue he's the best sort of man marking centre half we've got. We've missed Hollander. Really, you know, I've always been a big fan of Hollander. But as you say, a lot of the guys that are on the injury list, it's going to feel like new signings because I mean Jack hasn't played for nearly a year now, is it? Well, consistently for about a year, and there's a good few of them that as soon as they come back, we're going to be, it's going to feel like new signings, you know.
I think at the start of the season, that was one of our strong points was our strength and depth.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just faded away, isn't it? Now we're talking about we're having to play young boys. It's just in the door because we're struggling for numbers.
See, that's possibly a problem. That's possibly a problem as well when you're looking at potentially bringing players in. If you bring in midfield players and you say, right, okay, there's a position here for you. However, Jack's on his way back, Arfield's on his way back, and then you end up overloaded with them again. And you try to keep everybody happy. I mean, it's a bit easier now that you can use 5 subs again, but I mean, with a lot of these injuries, as you say, GD, they're not telling us a lot of information. I mean, all of it. I mean, the first we knew about Davis and Alfie went out was the manager's press conference on Monday.
Yeah.
So it got me thinking: Are they out? Are they out with COVID? Because he didn't say they were injured. He just said they're not training. So have they got COVID? Because they're not telling us when anybody's gone out with that. So is that what they're dealing with, or have they got a knock, or has something else happened? Because they tell us nothing. You know what I mean? And it is quite frustrating, and it is difficult doing things like this when you don't know what's going on. But you have to wonder why were they suddenly not available? You know, and if it is COVID issues, when will they be available? You know, that's what we really need to know.
Just on that point, a lot of these guys are out of contract in the summer.
Yep.
Talking about bringing people in, so it's one of these. That's going to be a few big decisions having to get made in the summer.
Yeah,
Whether
I think
they're going to get another year or what's happening.
I think at the start of the season, Davis was looking really good again. He was one of our shining lights when we were kind of a bit of a sluggish start to the season, but he kind of tailed off at the end of Gerrard's reign. He's not. Has Davis even started a game under Van Bronckhorst? I think it'll probably be the end of his time with Rangers there. He's been some servant for us over his 2 spells or whatever it was, yeah. But
I think on Davis, he's good in a 2, but I don't think he's got the legs to play a 6, and I don't think he's got the legs to play an 8 in this Gio's formation. I don't think you're going to. I love him. I think he's a brilliant player. I mean, he's a Rolls Royce, but I don't think he's got the legs to play in this formation at all. And I think, like you said, I think that's going to be the end of him this season.
yeah. Okay. But listen, we've got so much. They've got players taken back. The transfer window's got a fair bit to go. I just thought we would have heard a little bit more. We've heard a lot of talk about centre halves. Suter signed the boy from Holland, Dockie's not away, not done yet. That died a death. They comments. We're all saying we need a right winger. Can Sakala fill in there in the short term, Brian? We've tried Hadji, we've tried Scott Wright. Doesn't seem to be a starter for me anyway. As a better impact player, if that. Is Sakala, is it time to maybe just throw Sakala out there for a while and just run at teams?
Unfortunately, we've not really got many options. You know, that's the bottom line. We threw Wright in last night because it was either Wright or Sakala. So, you know, the right wing option's up for grabs for somebody if they want to take it. But unfortunately, there's nobody willing to stick their head above the parapet and, you know, make it their own. So it's either one of them's either going to step up or we're just going to have to go out and sign somebody. So that's the only 2 options we've got.
Well, next week against Livingston's going to be telling, because obviously Ryan Kent's going to be suspended. Mm-hmm. So does he play Wright and Sakala? You know, one on each side, because you haven't got Kent. You know, so do you play them both, or does he do something else? You know what I mean? Does he maybe put it out the right hand side? You know what I mean? He's done that before. You know what I mean? So
I would hope
that's the problem. There's not much options in the forward sort of areas.
No, there isn't. No, that's what we're saying. There's somebody in the comments that the first 11, when everybody's fit, the first 11 is decent.
That's what I'm saying.
But
But
there's not a lot. There's not a lot backing it up. You know, and that's the problem.
Can I throw a question at you? Because I know you watch all avenues of Rangers, and this is something I'm really frustrated about. Are you trying to tell me that we do not have someone in Murray Park and the training ground?
Center.
Yeah, the training centre that cannot come in, that is not in the first team and play. There must be a young 18, 19, 20-year-old boy who can come in, play wide left, give him the ball and he runs at a man. Surely these boys, we've got boys out there. That's just to happen. Reserve fit, but they'd come in and play and that'd be you a player. Why can we not do that? Why does it not happen?
Because the problem is there's a lot of guys in the B team that are very, very talented. I mean, there was one of them on the bench last night. Charlie McCann was on the bench last night, which was great to see. But there's a hell of a difference between where they're playing. They're playing down in the Lowland League. You know, when it used to be a reserve league, you were playing against basically first team players that were either dropped or coming back from injury or whatever. You know, now, you know, they're now playing against basically guys that are no better than junior players. Really, that's with the greatest of respect to these guys. They're decent enough players. They're playing against men, which is good for them. But there's a big difference between the 5th tier in Scottish football and where the first team plays. You know, I mean, I've got a mate who keeps saying, "Oh, we need to bring stuff through in the academy." Ajax do it all the time, but Ajax's B team are in the 2nd division in Holland. You know, I mean, they're in the tier below the Eredivisie. We're 5 levels down the B team. You know, so it's an enormous gulf. It's great to see some of them are training. I'd like to think a couple of the guys will possibly play on Friday, because that's not such a big jump to Stirling Albion. You know, I mean, I'd expect to see Leon King getting a start, for example. You know, it would be nice to see Charlie McCann get some minutes. I'd love to see Alec Lowdy getting a wee sniff in the first team, but they're only ever going to start on the bench, and if a game's safe, they'll bring them on to get a bit of experience, because they've not played any minutes at all at this level, and I mean, I watch a lot of the B team when I can, and there's a huge gulf in the difference in the football between what they play and what the poor teams in the Premiership play.
Mark, I'm going to come to you because I know we've spoken this before a lot, and it's a real frustrating point of mine. Like, why would any great young player from all over the world or Scotland want to come and play with Rangers, and then we use the excuse of, oh, but you play in the Lowland League, so you'll never be first team ready, so we'll never be able to throw you in. When there's, that surely is hindering this whole process we have.
Yeah, it's a tricky one, but see, as far as I'm concerned, you stick a young boy into that squad with seasoned pros run about them, they're going to help him.
They're going to make him better, aren't they?
Yeah, they're going to make him better. So you're hoping that, personally, I'm hoping, especially a winger, I don't think it's that big a risk flying a young boy that's got a bit of pace, that's going to go and play without fear, that's going to just pat him on the back and just go, do you know what, go and do play your game. Just go and run at them. Every time you get the ball, just go and run at them. Be brave and just go and have fun. I don't think that's a massive thing to be able to do. I'm not saying let the squad with 4 or 5 young boys and say, right, he's going to play, but I think the odd boy in here and there, I mean, what have you got to lose, really? It's give him a bash. If he's not any good, well, you can always take him off and replace him. But I think that young boy, I think about the amount of confidence that young boy's going to get, that Gio's pat him on the back and said, look, son, go and have fun. Just go and enjoy it. Just go and run him every time you get the ball. Go and run him and play your game. So, to me, that young boy's going to have his chest pumped out, ready to go, starting for Rangers. And to me, go and kick on, go and take your opportunity. This is that. Go and wee man.
Mark, you're 100% right in what you say. But if it doesn't work for him, if he has look at James Sands last night. James Sands wasn't the worst by a long way last night, and there's people already saying he's not good enough. Yeah. So if you bring in a young boy under those circumstances and it doesn't, he doesn't hit the ground running.
Yeah.
People will start getting on his back because it's the nature of the Rangers support.
Yeah. But I think the difference is that young Sands was in the engine room. He's in there having to fight and battle. Mm-hmm. Young boy in the wing that's just going to full of legs and full of youth, enthusiasm. Just give him the ball and say, right, just go and run at them. Just, I think it's slightly different. I take your point on as well. I think that you're right, but us as fans always want youth to do well. Always. Yeah. I mean, Patterson come through and all we wanted was the best for the wee man. Every time he was playing. And when he done something wrong, we'll let him away. But if that was Tavernier, we'd be right on his back. Yeah. So sometimes a wee mistake here and there, you can forgive that because he's only a young boy and he's one of our own and you want him to go and do well. But I don't see the problem. Why not, as I said, out in the wing, especially the way we're playing just now, right out in that touchline, as I say, go and give it a bash. Jamie said, got to be somebody that can go and do that.
It baffles me that you've got all these young boys.
Wright's not doing it. Hadji's not doing it. So, what do you do?
Agree. We'll move on. Final topic. And it is Friday night's game. Stirling Albion, isn't it? Stirling Albion, it's at Ibrox, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, a League 2 club. It's a big night for them, a big game for them. I know one of the boys that plays with them, so they'll be absolutely buzzing to go and play there. There'll be a fair crowd there for a Friday night. Brian, what are we expecting here? I mean, the only thing I'm not going to do the old preview. What's the score going to be? But we've kind of touched on it there. Team-wise, are you going to see wholesale changes here? And 2, we should be able to make 11 changes from last night and still beat Stirling Albion.
Yeah. I mean, the only change I would imagine is the goalkeeping situation as far as defensively for concerned. I wouldn't imagine there'll be wholesale changes in the defence. As I said, I've never been one to change things for the want of changing, but considering the opposition we're up against, you might give McCrory or McLaughlin a run out. I don't know. As far as in the forward line, I'm much as such. If you're good enough, you're old enough. If there's a 17, 18-year-old winger out there that can play right wing, give him a go against Stirling Albion. It's a free ball. It's a free shot at the end of the day. Just give him a run and see what he's all about and see what he's. I mean, at the end of the day, he'll be comfortable playing at Ibrox in front of his home crowd. Give him, as Mark was saying, give him a bit of a pat on the back and just say, look, out you go and enjoy yourself. You're in front of your own fans. Go and do what you can do. And if you get a chance to take the boy on, take him on and get it in the middle. That's the only thing I would like to see is some young right winger given a chance and just see what he's all about.
Well, there's more chance the likes of Sakala and Itten come in and play. I can see Itten playing out wide, Sakala playing up top through the middle to get some game time into their legs.
Yeah, I think that's what will happen. I mean, I would expect 2 or 3 of the youngsters on the bench. I'd like to think so anyway. Like guys like Alex Lowry, Charlie McCann, and if the game's relatively comfortable at half time or after an hour, give them a run out because you've got plenty of substitutes you can use. You can basically change half the team. Give these guys up rather than starting with them and then having to bring the big guns on if it's not going well. Personally, if it was me, if I was the manager, I'd be telling the 11 that started last night, look, you know the fans, get out there and make up for Tuesday night. But in the real world, that isn't going to happen, because as Brian says, he probably will change the goalkeeper because McGregor's played consistently since Van Bronckhorst came in. I don't expect the rest of the defence to change, although I don't know, he might take goals now and put Leon King in. That wouldn't surprise me because I know Goldson likes to play every week, but he plays an awful lot of football. And Stirling Albion's an ideal game to give him a rest, but I don't think he particularly likes a rest. But I'd like to see Leon King start the game. Now he's a member of the first team squad. They must have made them some sort of promises, before because there was interest in him from down south. They'd have been offering him some serious cash, but he decided to stay. So there must have been kind of, whether it was the same as the goalkeeper thing. Well, you'll get cup games or you'll get minutes here and there. I'd like to see Leon King get a start. As you say, up front, I would imagine it and Sakala. He might rest Morelos because he needs to. If he has been called up for Colombia, which seems as if it's right enough, we're going to have to get used to him not being there. And against Stirling Albion is an ideal game to do that with the greatest of respect to your pal and his teammates.
Yeah.
But it'll be interesting.
It will be.
Yeah, just on that, I think that it's a good opportunity for Itten and Sakala to go and maybe get a wee bit of confidence and go and maybe score a couple of goals. So Morelos isn't going to be here, so let's sit him on the bench and get them go and get a couple, go and bag a couple. Hopefully they can then kick on and take that in an Old Firm game.
CGM likes to keep me right. There's no way I would play it out wide. No way. So if I said that, I'm either off my head or slipping the tongue. Because if you're playing it against Stirling Albion, he's playing through the middle. Just play him through the middle. I wouldn't be playing it. I wouldn't even have it on the bench, never mind anything like that. But if we're going to use the guy, we play him straight through the middle. And I think he'll get time through the middle. He will. Brilliant. If we play... Well, so that's why I asked you what the question, because the boys are mentioned some sort of... Can we throw a young boy out wide right? Do we even have somebody of... I know Alex Lowry's been spoke about quite highly. Is he can he even play wide right? Is he not a number 10?
Alex Lowry's a number 10. I mean, he can. He's been playing out. The thing with the B team, they tend to swap the all about the positions quite a lot. You get guys playing. They've got Kane Ritchie Hosler plays out wide, but they've started playing him at fullback. You know what I mean? So he's too weak. He's too weak to come straight back in. There's nobody really springs to mind that could play out. They've got loads of guys that will play in the middle of the park. Charlie McCann plays in the middle of the park, driving forward. Alex Lowry's the same. Tony Weston. These guys, they're all much of them. They don't really play so much with wingers. They'll probably evolve into that because obviously they'll need to be playing the same way as the first team. But I mean, that's a good shout there. I mean, what about Bakuna? I mean, does Bakuna get a shot? Because he's not been seen. So does he get a run out?
I think he starts instead of Hadji.
Yeah.
For me.
He's got to. If Bakuna doesn't get a game in this type of match against Stirling Albion, then his cards are heavily marked. And shoot me down. I see a player in there, but I've not seen enough of it really. But I think if he, don't know, I think if he, and it's not, he's not going to show against Stirling Albion. Nothing. We're not going to take anything away from Stirling Albion from any player, I don't think, Mark, unless it's a young boy who comes on and does well, or Big Itten scoring a hat trick, or Sakala scoring 3 or 4. It's the only thing you're going to take away from these games. Everybody else is on to a hiding to nothing if they don't come on and play a 9 or 10 out of 10. Mark, that was for you.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I know. I agree with you 100%. Yeah. Bacuna, I think there's a player in there as well, but I think that it's maybe when he's on the park, he's disciplined when he's on the park. I think he's no one for tracking back. He's no one for. I think he's a bit of luxury, and I think that's all right if you play that formation, that you have somebody that's a luxury. But this is even Bigger Ebo tracks back, flings tackles in. So I think that's probably the problem with him. But yeah, I agree with you. I think that it's if anybody that comes in and doesn't do well, I think probably the likes of fringe players, their cards marked. I don't think you'll see them again. I think
the starting lineup is going to be very telling in whose cards are marked as far as going the season going forward and transfer wise. If you don't get selected to play against Stirling Albion, you're on the fringes.
Yeah,
I think you're gone.
Well, see on that. See that, because I'm assuming Gio will have the players in the fringes he's not really keen on, right? Would you not just then better play maybe 2 or 3 young boys and saying to the Bacunas and Simpsons, and if it's Lundstrom, look, it's not working, I'm not even going to play here, I want to ship you out this month? Or does he give them the odd run out for maybe somebody to maybe see him playing?
No, what I'd expect there, I would expect if the Lundstroms and Bacunas, if they're not going to get a start, I wouldn't have them in the match day squad. I'd put the youngsters on the bench, as I said earlier. Bring them on when things are going well. So I mean, if Bacuna and Lundstrom and guys like that, if they're not starting the game, then he's going to be shipping them out.
Yeah.
Because if he can't, as you said, if he can't start against Stirling Albion, their card's really marked. And if he's not going to start them, I don't see the point of putting them on the bench, because they won't change anything in a game like that. You won't see anything from them. I mean, I'd be delighted to see the bench on Friday loaded with B team players, because the B team don't have a game this weekend, so there's nothing to lose. It's not as if they can say, well, put them in on Friday, they can't play on Saturday, because there's not a game for the B team this weekend. Which on another point is absolutely fucking ludicrous, because they could have got a crowd at it if they had a game this weekend, because we play on Friday night, but that's another issue for another day.
I don't even start a new topic. I said 45 minutes, we're now an hour in. Just want to thank everybody for listening. It was a bit of a sombre one tonight, by the way. I like to have a bit of a laugh in that, but yeah, it was pretty sombre. That's always going to happen with Rangers. We have a draw the night before. We're still not over it, and we won't be over it even if we give Stirling Albion a pounding. We'll still not be over it until we get that next league game under our belt and get the ball rolling again. So, folks,
60 games unbeaten, though, Jamie. Remember,
60 games unbeaten, unbelievable run. So
can't forget that.
Brian, I'm not even going to ask you how you tried to get into how it was like getting into the Aberdeen ground last night, but I heard it was horrendous.
It wasn't easy. The first gate you had to show your ticket. The second gate you had to show your ticket and get it stamped, and then the third gate you had to show your passport with your proof of 3 jobs. So I'll tell you, it was like a military operation getting in there.
Sorry, JD, that's you just reminded me of something that I really wanted to bring up tonight, right? I really wanted to bring this up tonight, right? about last night. Obviously, as I say, I couldn't make it along, but one of my good friends down in Ayrshire, Billy, he messaged me today, and he says he was when they opened the gates to let him in, he was right at the front, one of the first to get in, and the first thing he had to do was show the steward his ticket, and he showed the steward his ticket, and the steward went, "That's got the wrong date on it," and he said, "Yeah, because it was originally for the game, and the original date on the 29th of December." Oh, hold on a minute, and they stopped. They didn't let anybody in until they had a big conversation about whether they could accept these tickets or not. Surely, fuck, they briefed the stewards.
Nah.
That's ludicrous. That's absolutely bonkers. You know what I mean? Absolutely bonkers.
It's hard enough getting in now with these passports, never mind a question about the actual ticket.
Mental.
It wasn't enough just to show the QR code. You had to go into the international bit to say you've proof of the 1, 2, 3 jobs.
Yeah. But Brian, see if they're serious about checking all these COVID passports, right? What they should be doing is what they do on the continent. I mean, when I was in Lyon, everywhere you went, you had to show your QR code, and they actually scanned it with their phone or whatever. You know, there's obviously a device, and that just scanned it, beeps, and it's right, okay, it's valid. That's a lot quicker than having to look at it.
Yeah.
They just went bang away. You go. So surely, if the Scottish Government are serious about having to do this, then all these stewards should have that facility either on a PDA or on their phone or whatever.
Yeah.
You say, right, okay, in you go, and it'll be an awful lot quicker as well. Because I expected the away end to get everybody get checked last night because they all get searched going in anyway, right?
Yeah.
What's going to happen at Ibrox on Friday? How do you check 20,000 vaccine passports in an areas of the ground where people don't normally get stopped going in? Because you go into, you know yourself, going to away games. Every away game you go to, you get stopped and you get searched, and it's not really that much of an issue to show a passport of some sort. Mm-hmm. But when you're going to your home ground, not just at Ibrox, but I imagine everywhere, you don't get stopped and searched. They just let you walk in. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, how much? What sort of delays is it going to cause? You know what I mean, you're going to get guys missing the first fucking 20 minutes of the game. It's ridiculous.
Well, the gates opened at 6:30 last night.
But that's when they always open.
Well, no, they said they opened them earlier because of this COVID passports. No,
they always open them at 6:30 at Pittodrie. They always open them at 6:30 at Pittodrie.
Anyway, do you know what? I'm going to end it there because another podcast descends into COVID chat. Yeah. But that was a good. Yeah, it's always good to let people know what it's like. So thank you, everybody. Please, thank you for joining us. We are back on Friday. I'm back again on Friday night. Like, I've no tell to miss it again. Anyway, I'm back on Friday night. I think Martin's hosting. We're going to have a wee chat about the Stirling Albion game. Hopefully, it's a bit of fun. We'll do a wee half hour on what the game was like. So we'll see you all then. There's more stuff kicking off. Just keep an eye out, your notifications if you have got them for YouTube and stuff. And hopefully we've got a few breaking pods coming up in the next week or so. Some signings in the door. Yeah. We can chat about that instant and get a good get the vibe.
Positivity, Jamie.
Yeah. So yeah, thanks everybody for joining me. Thank you to Mark, Wilf, and Brian. Thank you, lads.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
And everybody watching, thanks a lot. Really appreciate all your support you've been giving us through the last few months and for the last year or so. So appreciate it. We'll see you soon.